biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. Men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
So guys, welcome back. It's the 30th installment of Chopping It Up. Moff and I are taking on 3 more red flags today. What's going on, brother?
What's going on? Happy to get into it.
Yeah, man. Let's dig a little deeper, get a little further down the rabbit hole. There's 21 in total, so let's take a few weeks to get through them all. Got some good updates and some stuff to talk about. So we're going to do gals that compete with you, women that keep dudes around from their past, and of course, money issues. Broke. I've had my fair share of women looking for money. Anything to announce or deal with before we get right into this, man, or dive right down it? You think?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's carry on. If you guys didn't watch last week's show, it's the last episode. Go watch it. We spent almost 2 hours on some really useful content on there, helping you guys sort of suss through the the world that is dating. A lot of the problems that you run into when it comes to inviting women into your life can almost always be boiled down to choice and selection. Making better choices will get you better results. So this is really the point of dealing with these red flags. These are the this is the part of book that gets ripped off the most, Moff. Like, this is the stuff that I see people like steal from my shit all the time, and it's fine, whatever. Sometimes they say it's the greatest form of flattery, but let's get into the OG stuff and have a conversation about it. I'm gonna read the excerpts for each one rather than sort of winging it, so that I can, because I spent a lot of time making sure that this made sense. And each red flag really isn't that long. I think the daddy issues was the longest one. That competes with you. So here we go. So red flag number 4. She competes with you. A woman that constantly tries to compete with you might seem cute at first. Honestly, it does sometimes too. But it's a test of your competency as a man. And it's an underhanded behavior that ultimately aims to reduce your worth to her. Moff, do me a favor, put the ticker up for the red flags at the bottom. Guys, if you haven't read the book, fine. You don't even have to get it. Opt into my email list. You can download the 21 red flags absolutely for free that we're covering here tonight. These are just 3 of them of the 21. So if you're new to the channel, all that, you can go grab it there for free. Continuing on, the female primary social order tells women that they are better than men, and it's why we see the rise of the boss girl on social media. You see this all the time, hashtag boss girl, right? Once dated a woman that competed with her brother growing up, and that competitive behavior continued into her relationship with me. I can tell you firsthand, that's freaking exhausting. It's really draining on you. It certainly robs you of your joy and the comfort that's supposed to come out of a long-term relationship. It's a red flag because when women compete against you, she thinks that she's better than you. A woman that thinks that she's better than you will not respect you and will ultimately try to undermine you. For a woman to satisfy her hypergamy, she must feel like she's with a man that in her eyes is at least 1 to 2 sexual market value points more than she is. A woman won't try to compete with you when she believes your value is greater. She will instead admire you. Remember, women want to be with a giant. She wants to look up to you. Hypergamy never seeks its own level. It can only be satisfied if it does better than itself. A woman constantly competing in her long-term relationship or with a husband is always a prelude to a train wreck. I'm going to say this. The notion of the competition almost goes to contempt, Moff. You know what I mean? Like a chick that is thinking that, oh, my house is better than your place because it's got more square feet, or I got 10-foot ceilings, you only got 9-foot ceilings, or, my car or my dad's car or something like that. It's like she has a little bit of contempt for you. It's not overt in the sense where it's like, oh, you're such a loser, or like, why can't you do this properly sort of thing, or why don't you know how to change a tire? It's just in the sense where it's like, if she's competing with you, or she's trying to compete with you, or she's trying to compare aspects of her life to you, she has a little bit of contempt for you. She's like, why do I have to compete with this guy? Like, I don't want to compete with this guy. I have to line up my shit to compare it with his shit and tell him that his shit's kind of really like not up to par with my shit sort of thing. Like, this is where the competition sort of takes it. You know what I mean? It takes it to a level of contempt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a couple different examples. And for me, it was two examples and two girls that come to mind. The one was like the ex, the major ex, like the red pilling of ex, the red pilled ex. For her, it was more of, she was obsessed with, like, this is when I lived in New York. She was obsessed with like the bougie stuff. She wanted to live above her means. It was more important that she showed status. She wanted to live in the financial district, even though that she lived, it was funny because her and two of her best friends, they lived in what was technically a studio with a closet, and they turned that into a 3-bedroom place with 3 girls. So they had a main room, which is the studio, and then so they used these temporary walls for her 2 roommates, and then the girl that I was dating had the closet. It was a closet because it had no windows. It was like a home office with no windows, and it was just tiny. I mean, you could touch like the walls on either side, but it always made a big to do because I lived in Queens, right? So I didn't live in Manhattan. I didn't live in fancy schmancy financial district and down on Wall Street. When I didn't have clothes from like Calvin Klein, I didn't shop at Gucci and all this stupid stuff. And that was the competition for her. It was, we always made kind of the same amount of money. She started making a little bit more during COVID because my industry shut down and hers was thriving. But really it was more about the who's who, and we're always going to hang out at her place. Whereas it was a miracle when she would come over the river, like come hang out with my place or come hang out with my friends. She always wanted to do things on her terms. And it was just, yeah, like I'm this like boyfriend from the slums that's the project that she's working on, sort of this like check out this nice science, check out my science project that I'm molding into this thing that I want him to be. And yeah, it was, looking back, it was just, how most guys are, I'm sure. It's like, oh yeah, like I'll just do, if she wants to take the lead and she wants to compete or this and that, then okay, cool. Like that means I don't have to lift a finger, and then she can do whatever she wants to do, and I'll just be along for the ride. But after, all that stuff obviously went belly up, and I dated a girl for a little while, a couple of months, and she really liked to do the banter stuff. And it's always funny because there's so many girls, they put this stuff on their dating apps, like, oh, like I go crazy for witty banter. Like, can you keep up with me? Can you deal with my sarcasm? And it's like, because that's what women love from guys. Like, women love a guy that can, talk some smack and can put her in her place, because wit and humor are, precursors to intelligence. And so, but there was this girl that, I would run my mouth and I would, pull pranks on her and I would make fun of her and stuff. And she would always want to give it back to me, or she would do it unprompted. And it was just like, man, it's the most annoying thing in the entire world. It's just absolutely exhausting even when you're trying to be relatively serious about something and she's like looking for an opportunity to take a dig at you or throw in a jab. And I remember the one time that I ever confronted her on it, I was like, man, do you have any idea how annoying that is? And she like, it immediately dropped. And she just like, it was like I had smacked a puppy, and the whole facade sort of fell down, and she was really taken aback by it. And she's like, well, you do it all the time, and so I'm just trying to keep up with you, and you do it, so it makes me think that I should do it. It's just like, no, that's enough. Like, you like it when I do it. I can't stand when you do it. Like, obviously, needless to say, it didn't work out ultimately, but yeah.
When you really think about it, women watch guys' behaviors, right? Like we get in the workforce, we get a career, we make some money, we buy a nice car. And then women are like, oh, okay, then I'll get in the workforce, I'll make some money, I'll get a career, I'll buy a nice car. And then, they'll see guys, because this is innate behavior for guys. Like, we always kind of shit talk each other. It's it's just in us, sort of thing. I think I've said this before, on a live show, but men will talk shit to their friend's face and protect them behind their back, and women will talk shit behind other women's back but be nice to their face. So they're a little bit different the way that they operate, for men. But I think what they're trying to do is they're just trying to take another play out of the masculine playbook and be like, oh, well, if this makes Moff and his friends like each other more, then let me come along and poke and jab and compete with them.
I'm like one of the guys.
Yeah, like I'm one of the guys.
Just
that'll
like
be
one of the
hot sort of
boys.
thing.
Yeah.
Except for
like,
it's
oh
not.
My God. I don't want to date any of my dude friends. Like, it's not ever my thing. And it didn't work out because she could never put that stuff away. She could never stop it, as much as it just got to the point where I was like, I'm just not dealing with this anymore. And plus then I was going to leave New York anyway. And I just kind of like ghosted her at this point. It just didn't work out. But yeah, those were the two instances that I remember. And, again, it's like I've dated girls since then that have not even tried to pull that stuff. And it's just not in their nature, not in their DNA. Or there's always going to be competency tests, SHIT tests, essentially, but you can pretty much quell that at the beginning if you know what you're doing. Like, it's never going to stop. Like, a woman's never going to stop testing you, even girls that you're dating, like months, years. But yeah, that was a major thing that I noticed, where she was competing. One girl was competing monetarily, and she was competing playing like the status game. And when you're with a woman like that, she can never look up to you. If she's always treating you like this project, right? Like the art project boyfriend, the science project, the thing that I'm building up and tinkering with to turn into my perfect beta, building a better beta, she'll never be able to look up to you. She's always going to look down on you. And that eventually she'll trade you in for the dude that's just like, bitch, shut up. Like, don't talk to me like that. You must be out of your mind. Like, what are you crazy? Like, you live in a studio with 3 other girls and you're talking to me about being bougie. Like, let's call it what it is. So in any case, it's a huge one that guys need to look out for.
So to recap, essentially it's disrespect is really what it boils down to. Because if a woman adores you and she admires you and she sees you as a giant, she's not going to challenge you on silly hokey pokey things and like poke the bear. So look at that fucking joke. They're just not going to do that. She's going to look for ways to embed herself into your life. What can I do as a woman to be useful in this man's life, to help him out, to make it better, to help him more accomplished, to help him resolve things. And then the other part of the competition with you is it's a precursor to contempt, and contempt is the clock that will tick down to the end of a relationship. A woman that's competing with you, even if it's in a playful way, and like I said when I read it from the chapter in the book, and it seems cute at first, a lot of the times I thought it was cute as well, until it's not, until you're in a long-term relationship, or maybe you're living with them, or maybe you're married, and it's like, this was fun 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little bit because you thought it was cool, because that's what everybody else thought was cool. But then when you're living in with it, and it's just like, it's continuous, and then it transitions from competition to contempt, and contempt will end the relationship. A woman,
there's always truth in jest
with a guy. What's that?
I was just going to hit, there's always truth in jest, right? So if there's throwing these little digs and little jabs, like there's always some truth behind, like, oh, I'm just joking, I'm just messing around. It's like, no, there's always some underlying truth there. Yeah, for sure. So, and if it's, again, every now and then super innocuous, and maybe a girl's doing it just to get some attention, or maybe she wants to chase you around, get you to chase her around the bedroom or whatever, which is, go for it, man, go nuts. But yeah, if it's a regular pattern, watch out, man. Like, that's a big indicator that the respect is out the window and contempt is right around the corner.
And you're probably going to have to deal with a little bit, guys, as you're kind of managing into like moving into like the maintenance phase of the long-term relationship. But just, putting your foot down, not engaging, like save the jabs for you and your friends. You really shouldn't be playing that game with a woman. It's like, it just, you're kind of treating her like one of the guys, and she's trying to treat you like a little brother. Like, she's giving you a little noogie on the head, like, you little loser, kind of like, scrubbing you on the head sort of thing. Jesus. It's like, don't ever let it get to that. Put your foot down and say, look, don't talk to me like that. Don't behave that way. She tries to, my house or, my car, but I'm just like, just laugh and just be like, bitch, please, you don't know what I got here. Okay. Just handle it. Very, very important to handle it. Don't ignore that. So that's a red flag that's generally reasonably easy to deal with. Like, there's some of these that are no-go zones. like really bad daddy issues, feminism, you know, they can be really, really problematic. But I think that the notion of a woman that tries to compete with you, more often than not, can probably be dealt with and resolved. So let's go to number 5 here. Red flag number 5 is she keeps men around from her past. This one might take a little bit longer. It's kind of a really important one. So let's hit it. Women like to have options. A recent survey showed that almost half of all married women admitted to having a backup plan in a long-term relationship, so also known as another guy. If you're getting into a long-term relationship and she wants you to abandon your sexual strategy of unlimited access to unlimited women, then she needs to burn the ship on the shores of this new life with you and cut all emotional ties to other men. Before I continue, so this study was conducted where women responded to the question, do you have a backup plan in case it doesn't work out? And half of women admitted during the survey to having a backup plan. Now you have to understand something about women. Like we learned this in the Ladies Night podcast series, which, continues on. It's on every Tuesday night now. Moff and Spencer are doing a great job on it. Make sure you check it out. But when it comes to women, they have this this element of behavior, which is known as reputation management. So by stating overtly that they have a backup plan, it's not a flattering statement to make, especially in an interview type of scenario, especially if they're collecting your name and your data or any of those things. So keep in mind that there's some women that are going to avoid stating that they have a backup plan because of shaming, societal narratives and norms, because they want to manage their reputation very carefully. And they might just say no, knowing that they have one. So just be aware that half admit to having it. The other half don't admit to having it, but there's a good percentage of the half that don't admit to having a backup plan that probably have a backup plan. So let's carry on. Now, some women will end up as an alpha widow. An alpha widow is a woman that pines for a high-value alpha that didn't commit to her in her earlier years. She may not be in contact with him anymore. However, if she still sees him as the one that got away, quote unquote, she keeps a place for him in her head and therefore in her heart. Then she'll never see you as the best option. There was this fantastic story that went absolutely viral. I think I did a video on the Entrepreneurs and Cars channel where this lady was at a mall and they ran into an old friend from high school, and they had the baby with them. And the friend's like, oh, good looking boy, what's his name? And he didn't state the name, the guy that wrote this portion out, but he's like, it's a very uncommon name. It's not a very common name. And she kind of hesitated and didn't state the name. So he stated the name, he said. And then she looked at his wife and said, oh, like your boyfriend from high school. So she named the son the same name as the guy that she was porking in high school, unbeknownst to the father, who wasn't aware of that. So that dropped his heart, right? Like that crushed his soul to learn that she named the son after a boyfriend that she pined for in high school, and she's now alpha widowed. So this is why you want to make sure that women don't keep guys around from their past. It's just one of many reasons. And this is also one of the reasons why, guys, if you have a son, you're the father, you name your sons. Women do not name sons. Fathers name sons. Give him a name that you feel is appropriate, whether it's yours, your grandfather's, or whatever it happens to be. But fathers name their sons. Do not let her get away with naming your son after some guy she was porking when she was in high school. Any more? Best option. Okay. It's imperative that she has genuine burning desire for you. If you haven't read my book, guys, you can get on Amazon. There's an entire chapter that breaks down GBD. I'm not going to do that right now. So it's imperative that she has genuine burning desire for you. You don't want to be good enough, quote unquote. You want to ensure that you're getting her absolute best. Trust me when I say that no good ever comes from her having lunch with ex-boyfriends, other male friends, and you certainly do not want to be the guy that she settled for. If you're a man that is chasing excellence in his life, you don't need distractions like your woman seeking attention from or still pining for other guys. Men and women have little in the way of common interests other than wanting to have sex with women and women wanting to extract resources from men. There should be absolutely no room for male friends in her life when you're in a long-term relationship. Women like this should be treated as a plate. So it means you're treating her as an option, at least until they can prove they're over their past. All women have... Oh, okay. Just about all women have a past. I haven't met a virgin my entire life, Moff, and I've been dating since I was like 19. I've never once met a virgin. So every woman predictably has some guy from her past around. Hopefully they're gone. They've let go of them, but for some reason, women like to keep them around, especially if if they see them as an option. Maybe they were a fun sexual fantasy or something like that for them. There's any number of reasons why they can exist, but we've seen this a lot on Ladies Night Show. We have this conversation. I think one of the topics that'll come up is like, what do you think about women keeping male friends around? And a lot of the ladies on the show will say something along the lines of, oh, it's totally fine. We're just friends. And I've said this many times on social media, I get heat for it, but nobody fucks more girlfriends and wives than he's just a friend. These guys are trouble. So when she's asking you for your commitment, guys, when she's asking you to invite her into your life and take her on trips and show her off to your family, this is the point where you have to evaluate her past behavior that's known at that time. Hopefully you've been dating for at least a few months, hopefully 6 months or so. And, then you can sit her down and be like, hey, look, I dig your vibe, but I just can't take a woman seriously that, hangs out with her ex-boyfriend or goes to brunch once every couple months, with her ex-fiance or something like that, or a guy that she used to work with. Like I said in that part of the chapter, men and women don't have a lot in common other than men want to bang hot women and women want to extract attention and resources from guys. Like that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. So, when I want to hang out with friends, I don't hang out with female friends, Moff. I hang out with my boys, right? Like when we take trip, this is one of the things that I find funny is, we'll have the real run, at the start of the show, with the Algonquin trip. And it's like, we're carrying heavy packs. Like there's 2 saunas that we carry on. There's canoes, there's fucking tents, all kinds of shit. And guys be like, oh, where's the girls? How come there's no girls on the trip? Are you guys gay? No, this is how men are programmed. This is how we do things, right? This is how we roll. Women are not for fun times like this or challenges like that. You understand?
Well, it's funny because whenever I run that reel, especially on Ladies Night, I can't count how many women are like, we need this for women. I'm like, you wouldn't do it. Like none of you would show up. You would argue that the canoes aren't the right color, that it doesn't go with your shoes, or that you're going to get muddy and dirty. Like, so shut up. But I actually, so we're currently 5 for 5. Just for anybody keeping score at home with my ex that I got red pilled over or unplugged over, currently 5 for 5 on red flags because I have 2 stories based around this on her. For one, I remember I don't remember all the specifics. It was a very long time ago. But it's something having to do with the guy that she lost her virginity to. She kind of tried to claim that it was some sort of assault or she didn't want to, but he didn't stop. But it was still like this and that. But she stayed with the guy. I mean, the way she told the story did not sound like an assault to me. The details are fuzzy, but I just remember being kind of skeptical, but whatever, man. Like, what are you going to say to your girlfriend at the time? Like, oh, yeah, like, okay, yeah, right, babe. And then I remember she would tell me stories or she would relive. I think he eventually went on and cheated on her or something like that. Or I think they went to separate colleges and he cheated on her first week of college or something like that. And it was the way she talked about it that showed that she still had anger or still emotional about this thing that had happened 4 years ago. Right. So because you guys know, if you should know by now, if you don't, listen up. Apathy is the worst thing that a woman can have for you, besides contempt. If there's contempt, then there's at least some sort of emotional attachment. But eventually, beyond contempt, is completely apathy. She doesn't care if you get hit by a bus tomorrow. You're meaningless to her. She could be like, "Oh wow, my ex-boyfriend got hit by a car. Oh, that sucks." She doesn't care. That's the final stage. I don't care about this guy ever again. But the fact that she was telling these, and I didn't see it at the time, and of course, oh, I can't believe that happened to you, and what a POS, all that kind of stuff, all those beta good boy behaviors. So that was always someone that she had kept time and space for around. And it was interesting because the guy that she had dated before me all throughout college for 4 years, she talked about him like she didn't even care. She was like, oh yeah, he's got a new girlfriend, this and that and the other, whatever, I don't even mind. So it was just so interesting how if a woman is talking about an ex or a guy from her past with any sort of emotion attached to it, she's holding space for that dude. She's still somehow, some way attached to that guy. So you have to be careful of that. But the male friend thing was something that actually happened while we were in a relationship. So she started this new job, and there was this guy that she would work with at this marketing agency who apparently had a pretty reputation of being a very feminine guy, but he lived with a girl. He had a girlfriend of multiple years that he lived with, but everybody knew, and I knew, and my girlfriend knew it. My girl at the time knew this guy was like obsessed with her, always talking to her, always hanging around, had a desk right next to her, would distract her from work and this sort of thing. And he was one of those guys that when you meet him in person, he acts really friendly to you. He's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Heard so much about you. I'm like, dude, I know you're trying to like bang my girl. Like, let's just call it what it is. And he had a girl at home that he lived with. And I remember there was a time, there were a few instances. I remember one time in particular she told me about. They would all go out as a group and then so and so forth. It just ended up with the two of them alone at the bar. And he apparently called his girl at home, or I think they were engaged at the time. And he lied to his girl, his fiance, about who he was at the bar with. He didn't want to tell him that he was at the bar with my girl. And I think she covered for him or something like that. And she brought it up and she would justify. I'm like, dude, this guy is trying to like get at you, right? You know that this dude is not your friend. Yeah, but he would never have a chance. And I've made that very clear. It's other thing. We hear this shit every week. It's everything we've always heard. I've made it very clear. He's not my type at all. And I even remember, and this is a test that I failed with flying colors. She called me one time. She goes, hey, I took a picture with this guy and he wants me to post it on Instagram, and I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to, be rude to him or be mean to him because he's my friend. Are you okay with this? And I was at the time, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care. Obviously, huge mistake on my part. And I think that probably contributed to like, man, this guy, I don't respect this guy at all. He's letting me take a picture with the guy and post it on Instagram. It's like, wait, why are you posting a picture with just the two of you and you got your arm around the guy and vice versa? And he's giving this shit-eating grin to the camera like, yeah, don't you guys see me? I'm that guy. So it's just these things, and you trick yourself into thinking that it's okay because, oh, I trust her. And again, now this guy, even back then, even in my blue pill days, like didn't hold a candle to me. He was like 130 pounds. Looks like he couldn't even bench his way out of a paper bag, short, like tubby, had a little lap dog with his girlfriend, all those kinds of things. But it was also the fact that she just loved the attention, and she's loving the attention of another guy in a relationship. And that's something we ask these girls on ladies' night all the time. It's like, what are you getting from a guy that you're not dating, that you're not getting the guy you're dating? Like, why do you even need another man around? Are you that starved for attention, or do you need male attention that bad? And if there's a guy out there and you've got a girl that is arguing with you saying he's just a friend and we've been friends for a really long time and I can talk to him about anything, she's basically telling you that you're not good enough. And again, she's telling you right to your face, in not so many words, that she needs multiple men to satisfy her attention craving. So yeah, got experience with this one too, man. It's, I think after we're done with this, it's going to be like 21 for 21, but we'll see.
I had this, this girlfriend, I think I was 19 or 20. It was like the first girl that I was dating seriously. And I didn't know this at the time, but one of my good friends would call her every day after work for months. Like months and months and months. I didn't know this was going on for like 3 or 4 months. And she'd entertain it and have the conversation for an hour and not say shit to me. Nothing at all. We get together from time to time, maybe see like, the group of us together once a month or something like that. We used to ride a lot of motorcycles back then. But there was no indication or hint they were having a conversation every day after work, until one day she brought it up and she's like, do you think it's weird that, I'll just use the name Kevin. Kevin's been calling me like every day after work. I'm like, what? When did this start happening? Oh, it's been going on for months. That's interesting. Why didn't you mention this before? Oh, I didn't really think anything of it. You guys are all friends, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm a plugged in, beta at the time. So I really know what to do with it. And then she proceeds to ask me, she said that Kevin wanted to bring me to prom, as his date. Would you be okay with that? And I was like, that's very strange. He's my friend. He's been calling you for months. Now he's asking to take you to his prom as a date, like as a friend sort of thing. I think I allowed it, if I'm not mistaken. Like I've done some stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? That's certainly one of them. I don't believe anything ever happened with the two because he was like this little kind of like tubby dork that really didn't get women. I think that she liked the attention. It was more of like an attention play. But there should be like zero room for it. It just doesn't make sense. Or like no good can come out of it. There's no positive good, like there's no good that can come out of it. If you've got an attractive gal that has asked you for your commitment, wants again to take vacations with you, to spend time with you, to be your girl, to visit your family, sort of thing like that. There's no room for, hey, I'm going to book club with some people from work, and there's a bunch of guys in the club, or we're going out on Saturday night with some people from the co-ed volleyball team, or we're going away for the weekend for such and such's birthday. 3-hour flight away. None of that stuff should exist. And the place and time for you, for most of your opportunity, guys, in dealing with this stuff, because a guy that's been in a relationship for like 10 years and is watching this right now and be like, yeah, my girl hangs out with a lot of guys, and that's very strange. And some of the, you start to connect the dots. That's going to be hard to fix right now. But the point in time in where you deal with this, once you've unplugged as a guy, is when she asks you for your commitment. What are we? Where do we stand? Where is this going? I want to have a future with you, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, fine. That's cool. I like you too, but I can't take a woman seriously that inserts red flag. And then that's your opportunity to give her a chance to modify the red flag. And if she sees you as her best option and really digs your vibe and doesn't see any benefit in keeping guys around, either from her past that she dated or didn't date, it doesn't matter either way. I mean, they're both problematic. Whether they banged or not, they're both problematic. It's just, if they banged, it's probably more of a problem for you, because it's easy like women think in their head like, oh, I don't want to increase my notch count, so I'm just going to go back to the same piece of shit that I was banging before. Like they create these convoluted stories in their head like, oh, I never really had a hookup, but I went and fucked the guy for one night, blah, 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 sort of thing. It's like no good comes from it. Just complete, I can't take a woman serious that keeps guys from her past around or has guy friends. Simple as that. Oh, well, women are too, one of my favorites is, women are too emotional, or, there's too much drama if I hang around with girlfriends. Yeah. Okay. That's still better than hanging out with guys that all want to bang you. Right. Like again, there's no good that comes from it. So put your foot down, square it away, deal with it. It's simple.
Well, they never have a good justification. It's always the shaming language, right? It's never
always emotional.
They can never give you a good reason of why they need to keep this guy around. It's always like, you're insecure. That's a problem that you're having. Guys,
why are you so controlling?
Know this stuff. Like, yeah. Guys, this stuff. Like, you can feel it in your gut. If you're watching this, you've got a girl that does this stuff, and you see it all the time. Guys will put it. I don't frequent this site. I just see it pop up now and then, like on Twitter. But you'll always see guys who are like, I have these internal feelings that I don't want my girlfriend to go out with these other guys, or she's meeting up with this guy at a hotel who she says is just a friend or is like a business partner, and it just doesn't feel like your gut is telling you this is wrong. This is the reality, and guys will do these mental gymnastics all for the fear of being labeled like insecure or not trusting, because they're not willing just to tell a girl no. And they don't realize what a trump card that is. They don't realize that saying no to a woman is in itself a superpower, because not only does it, get you what you want, or she leaves and then the relationship is over, which means you don't have to care about it anymore. Or maybe she's like, wow, this dude's putting his foot down, respect. Now, I actually had a conversation with a guy earlier today about this, where it's, and this is a little bit down the rabbit hole, but it's really hard for you to change the perception of a woman. If you've allowed behavior, if you've allowed her to get away with things, and now you're watching this and you're going to start clawing that stuff back, you are in for a long, tough uphill battle, my friend. So, a lot of times, if you're a plugged in guy and you've let things go for weeks, months, years, and then you're finding this content, you're with that same girl and you're like, oh, wow, now I need to get her, I need to pull the reins back and get her to respect me again. It's like, by all probabilities, that relationship probably just needs to end. You need to start with somebody fresh. But like, too many guys do this. Too many guys do not draw these boundaries at the outset, and then they're always playing catch up. They're always trying to claw things back. And once you've allowed it, and a lot of people are like this. A lot of people are like, once you allow it once, they think that's now the standard. And they think that if you let a girl go out once with like her girlfriends or go on a girl's trip, like, oh, I just did it that one time. You gave her one time, and now she can always be like, well, what's different about this time? How come I can't? You let me do it that one time. How come I can't do it this time? You got to draw those boundaries, man, ruthlessly.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. Let's run the ad break. We'll take a minute or two, just grab some water and stretch, and we'll come back and do the next one and take some call-ins too.
Cool. If you're someone who's gotten value out of the Unplugged Alpha channel and its accompanying best-selling book, then consider taking the next step in your unplugging journey and joining our exclusive community for Unplugged Men. Our community is made up of 4 distinct tiers. The School of Unplugging is where you'll find over 45 hours of content around dating, fitness, making money, increasing your testosterone, and more, along with weekly Zoom calls with Rich, Moff, and their hand-selected team of experts. If you're just starting out on your journey or you need a refresher of the basics, this is where to begin. The School of Entrepreneurship contains all of the content and Zoom calls from the School of Unplugging, plus Rich's flagship course on entrepreneurship, and an additional monthly call where Rich will personally evaluate your current business or prospective business ideas. Whether you're a current entrepreneur looking to take your business to the next level, or a hopeful entrepreneur looking to build your network and get specific and targeted coaching around your business ideas, the School of Entrepreneurship is for you. The Unplugged Brotherhood. Formerly known as the 10%, if you are looking to be part of a brotherhood of men who believe that putting themselves through physically and mentally demanding events in order to grow, then look no further. This tier is where you'll find in-person meetups that will test you and force you to grow alongside other members to create bonds that will last a lifetime. Finally, the 1%. The most exclusive tier of our community is where you'll find the top shelf men who have maxed out the 7 spokes of looks, money, status, captivation, frame, unplugging, and game. This is where you'll find exclusive high-level networking events, masterminds, and access to the best of the best. And last but not least, we're a global community with members in nearly 30 different countries across 5 continents, and we're growing every day. Go to entrepreneursandcars.com/community for more information, fill out an application form to which tier interests you the most, and book a call to see if it's a mutual fit. We'll see you on the inside.
All right, and if you guys are watching a replay, you'll find the links for all that pinned in the top comment. But yeah, definitely contemplate it if you're serious about that kind of stuff. Let's go to red flag number 6, and we'll take call-ins. If you guys are watching live, this is the best time to do it. But there's a call-in link. It's a StreamYard. It's pinned at the top of the live chat. You guys can click that, and we'll take as many call-ins as we can leading up to the end of the show at 9. So the next red flag that we're going to cover in the show is poor with money, broke bitches. So you know this already from my videos, but I'm well versed in financial services and instruments from my past businesses. And when women are bad with money, it's often serious trouble. If she's an adult and doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, then she's not even to be considered for a long-term relationship. There's a small caveat to this, which I'll explain in a moment. I've seen far too many men trying to play Captain Save-A-Ho, bail out women with horrendous debt and terrible spending habits. Despite the lie feminism told women that they only earn 75 cents on every dollar a man earns, women have every opportunity to earn a good living today, and they do. Yet women still continue to choose careers that pay less than men, while going deep into debt by overspending. Ultimately, if she can't manage her cash flow and has nothing but a pile of handbags and a shoe collection to show for this debt, avoid her for anything more than just a casual relationship, because she will make her financial problems your financial problems. I've had a lot of consults with guys that have paid off women's student debt, bought women's children from prior relationships a car for college, paid for their college tuition, paid off their credit cards, bailed out a lot of women that have financial hardships. And I can tell you from my experience running my debt business for the years that I did, it was almost 20 years. A lot of the clientele that we had come in were mostly the gals. And when they were a couple, we'd often get their credit reports. Sometimes they were refinancing. There might have been a private mortgage that was included in the deal to pay off the debt, sort of thing. And you'd always see the exact, like, hypergamy is real. Okay. Like 98% of the mortgage applications that I saw, when they have to state where they live, what they do for a living, proof of income, all that sort of stuff, the guy makes substantially more than she does. Now, again, you know, we live in a world today that, you know, we hear all the time in the media that, you know, there's a shortage of marriageable men for women today. And there's a lot of professional women that can't find men of their caliber or higher. Because again, women want to date across and up. They don't want to date down. So it functionally prices them out of the dating market. And they often find themselves as spinsters with cats and a nice collection of degrees on their wall framed in mahogany, doing well in life. So you hear that narrative as well, too. Now, the caveat that I was mentioning when I was sort of reading through that is there might be a situation where you're a successful guy, you're in your 30s, you're doing very well, you know, you're attractive, masculine, you know what you're doing, and you're looking to have a family, and you want to stay away from problem women with red flags, with a promiscuous sexual past. So you're going to date younger. That might be a situation where it's like, okay, she's younger, she hasn't really done anything with her life, but she wants to be a mom, she wants to be a complement to your life, she's embedded herself into your life and become useful and solve a lot of problems for you that allow you to level up and do more. I think in a scenario like that, and you'd have to structure it carefully. That's a completely different show. That's fine. You can take care of her and, you know, the kids, and just run it that way. But for the vast majority of guys out there right now that are looking for a gal, for a girlfriend, for a wife, or something like that, you tend to be dating around your age, your demographic. And if that's what you're doing, you shouldn't be paying off her debt. You shouldn't be taking care of her problems. You shouldn't be, you know, like, there's always these problems that would come up, Moff. There's so many of them. I remember this one gal, it's like in the first date, she's like, oh, you know, the back of my car is all fucked up and somebody backed into it and I don't know how to fix it and I don't have the money for it. And like implying, can you pay to fix it and find somebody to do this for me, sort of thing. It's like, there's always one thing after the other. And it's like, you know, if you're all so strong and independent women and you need a man like a fish needs a bicycle, then why are you asking me to fix your car? Right? Like, why are you asking me to pay for stuff like that? Don't invite broke women into your life with financial problems. It's a difficult, slippery slope because there's so many different levels, Moff. You got the younger gals that have nothing to show for it. You have the older gals that have somewhat of a career but have financial distress. You also have, you know, the boss girls who are maybe on par with you, that might have a nice house, that might have a nice German car, sort of thing like that. So just be aware that her financial problems will become your financial problems. Her problems will become your problems. She will try to embed them onto you. So you have to be careful with that. That is a serious red flag because that can be very, very expensive for guys.
Yeah, this one was a huge one for me. I mean, being bad with money doesn't always equate to not having money, right? It's be spending it on dumb things and being broke as a result of your own choices. And also, and again, I say this with a grain of salt because we know in general that women don't like to share their pot of gold. But even in like hard times, even when it's, hey, I'm something might happen, something unforeseen may have happened, and now I may need you to pick up the slack. Like we're 6 for 6 guys on the New York City X. I mean, I already talked about before how she needed to go in with 2 other friends to live in a studio with a home office and turn it into a 3-bedroom. But this is the perception by saying, I get to live on XYZ. I get to live in the financial district. I get to live in Manhattan. I get to live in this neighborhood. The perception of this, the idea that she was, what's that?
You did eventually, right?
We did. We started living together after about 1.5 years of dating. Yeah. We started dating in August, and then 1.5 years later, it was like March of 2020. And then that's right when COVID hit. So that was a whole mess within itself. But, and I remember a couple of things in regard, but again, the stuff she would go out and spend her money on, always going out to eat, always going out with her friends and drinking to the bars and things like that. Even when we lived together, she would never wear the same outfit twice. She would buy outfits specifically for weekends in the Hamptons with the girls that she would never do anything with. I remember when we had broken up and we had finally I'll tell that story and then I'll go back really quick. But I remember we had broken up. She had moved out and she lived at one of her girlfriend's places instead of with me, which thank God, that's fine. But she would come home every couple of weeks to like pick up some clothes or do laundry. And she would come up with a dozen Amazon boxes of just clothes and shoes and just BS that she didn't need. And I remember her breaking down, you know, even 6 months, 8 months before about how she didn't have the money to cover her LASIK surgery, or she didn't have the money to pay for XYZ or ABC or this and that.
You paid for all that. Was that you?
No, I mean, I offered at one point I had offered because I was making okay. I was making some okay money. And I remember even offering, I was like, all right, I'll cover you and I'll give you a loan. And she was able to figure it out. I think her mom stepped in or something like that, or she put it on a credit card. I don't really remember. But I think what was really eye-opening for me was the fact that, so I talked earlier about my job, my industry that I had. I was in the sports industry. So if you guys didn't know anything about sports in the US or even all over the world, like you couldn't attend any sports games, like tickets were basically useless. And I was in the sports ticketing industry. So I think April or so, or even May, my company basically cut every full-time worker's hours in half and turned everybody into part-time employees. So I went from making upwards of 85, 90K to half of that. And we were splitting the rent 50-50, and it was $1,500, $1,600 each for us, which was a lot. I doubled my rent. I was paying like $800 in New York for my own place, and we split the rent basically 50-50. And I remember there was and I never asked, but there was no inclination, no offer for her to say, hey, listen, I'll pick up the slack for the next couple of months and maybe we can work out a payback plan. I'll chip in and maybe cover half of your half. And because we had separate bank accounts, like we didn't do that whole thing quite yet. And then even when I talked about, renewing the lease or getting a 2-bedroom because I was going to be working from home, and having a second bedroom as a home office, she's like, well, I'm not going to pay any more in rent. If you want to get a 2-bedroom, then whatever the difference is, it's going to come out of your end, not mine. So, those were big moments where she was not willing to give up the clothes and the shoes or anything. It was actually a miracle, like getting her to move out of Manhattan and across the water to Queens was a win within itself. But here's the deal. It was in a brand new high-rise building. It was the top floor. It had an amazing view of the city. Not cheap. But I counted that as a win. I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe she's willing to give up this bougie stuff. So that's how deep in I was. But yeah, if there's the fact that, I spent 6 months doing part-time, dipping into savings, and there was no inclination whatsoever to, pick up the slack and I could work out something on the back end so being stingy with money and not willing to contribute anything. And, major red flag and no good.
Yeah. It's been said that a successful, wealthy guy can change a broke woman's life, and they do often
all the time.
But a successful, wealthy woman will never look a broke man's way unless it's for short-term fun. And he just got out of jail with a little teardrop tattoo by his eye and his motorcycle.
Those guys.
Then she'll spend the night with him, but nothing on a permanent basis. So, when we were talking about the categories, it's like, the younger gal that has nothing yet, fine. The older girl that's got some debt sort of thing, but maybe a little bit of a career and a problem. The boss girl. There's never the boss girl with a very successful lifestyle, C-suite executive making $600,000 a year. That's like, oh, I want to go out with this guy over here that waits tables for, $60,000 a year. Like, I'm not saying it'll never happen. Maybe there's someone be in the comments, I dated and that was me. Okay. Very, very rarely do women date down financially. So you have to be mindful of women's financial issues when you start getting into a serious commitment. Because the other problem with the serious commitment too is it's very low risk for women and high reward, and it's high risk and low reward for men because of family law. So as soon as you start living in a way that looks like marriage to the government, that they treat as marriage, if you guys break up, even if you're not married, she can have access to your shit. There's a really interesting case. I covered it on a podcast. Must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. It's one of Canada's richest guys. He was a billionaire, still is. But him and his girlfriend, they lived in separate homes. She had money problems. He was very successful, obviously billionaire, family wealth sort of thing. They would spend time during the week. She'd come over, have dinner, bring her kids sort of thing. He had some kids from a prior relationship. They never lived together, but they did travel together. But they acted in such a way that even looked like marriage. And because she had financial problems when he met her, and he improved her life so significantly, she argued to the courts, we're basically married because we were together for so many years. And she's like, look at all the Facebook posts and the evidence. And there's a big part in the sand over here where it's like, Bill and Jill and fucking whatever in Mexico and Miami and Ibiza and all these different places around the world. Because she asked for a promise ring, he gave her a ring, which she wore as an engagement ring. But they never got married. They never got engaged. They never had an engagement party. He flew her from Muskoka down to Miami in the winters, back up north, to hang out. She ended up winning that case because she convinced the judge that he was responsible for the improvement in her life, and he's paying her $30,000 a month now.
Unbelievable.
Yoga studio, some bullshit yoga studio in Toronto that probably doesn't make a
makes
dime.
Nothing, makes jack shit.
By now. But that's what can happen, if, you get in that. It's like Guys far too often will just be like, she touches my pee-pee and she responds to my text. So why wouldn't I want to get in a relationship with her? It's like, dude, the options for you as a man improve so much more when you put the effort and resources back into yourself than random women that come and go in your life throughout time. If you can put that time and effort into leveling yourself up, making some more money, developing a new skill, starting a business, networking with more significant men, becoming more influential, that makes you more attractive. Losing the weight, becoming more masculine, learning how to fight, fixing style issues, like all of these things, making yourself attractiveness is the key that allows you to select for better women. You only settle for problems when you don't have optionality. Create optionality, become more attractive, and then the issue with red flags more or less sorts itself out, because as soon as she starts, showing you off red flags, like Moff's like, 6 for 6 now, right, with his ex. Do you think he was, putting up with this shit when he started dating afterwards, right? When he started to realize, when he started doing the work and making more, you know what I'm saying?
It's all it boils down to, man. It's again, being unplugged. It's just and improving yourself. Just it means you got to put up with. You don't have to put up with BS that you don't want to put up with, because there's more options and there's going to be more around the corner. Yeah. It's really what it boils down to. We talk about this a lot. Like, women need to know they're replaceable. They need to have that anxiety. They need to know that you're that guy, and that tends to manifest itself a lot easier than when you're doing the right things. I mean, the way you carry yourself, like whether you're seeing other women or whether you're not seeing other women, but the simple fact that you could is generally, enough. But like I've got no need to compromise any of the things I want to compromise. Like if I'm going to get into an LTR, for example, or it's like, all right, cool. Like I got access to your bank accounts. I know your PIN. I have your debit card in my back pocket, and that's where it's going to stay. And if I need it for something or whatever it is, it's just, I'm going to be in control of every aspect of the relationship, because I think that's the best way for it to work. It's just letting somebody who is an emotional, non-rational thinker 99% of the time have free reign in something where they have access to potentially take me down financially is just an extremely, extremely dumb thing to do.
Yeah, it's nuts. You want to take some call-ins here? We got some people waiting. We've done the 3. I'll bring one in.
Yeah, let's grab Andy. He was back first. Waiting all patient. Andy, what's up, bro?
Hey, just wanted to maybe throw in a couple of extra examples of the red flags that you were just talking about. One of them is the banter one, right?
The witty banter.
Yeah, the witty banter. That can get annoying even with guys. You don't necessarily want somebody picking on you all the time, and you kind of gets the guard up. But with women, that's extremely annoying. But however, sometimes I wonder, I live in Minnesota, and everyone's maybe here a little bit passive aggressive than average. But sometimes I wonder if like these ladies are not even necessarily always self-aware of that they're being toxic, because perhaps maybe they didn't have a father or an uncle or some parental male authority to like tell them to shut up, when they were a kid or whatever, or like put in the boundaries. What do you think about that?
I'd say they probably carry some weight. I mean, the girls that I would run into that would do this were like NYC boss babes. They were like working in the fashion industry, or like the girl that was given, like the girl that loved the banter, she would call herself like a tomboy, right? So that was kind of her MO. She had sort of a little bit of masculine edge to her already. And enough exposure to feminism and the boss babe mentality, like it turns women into poor versions of men. So they see that, they emulate it. They're probably in an office environment where there's a lot of men around, whether they're sales guys or VPs and C-level folks it's the tide has started to turn in the last couple of years, but there's sales guys are going to act like sales guys, and there's always that high level of that sort of machismo, and there's a lot of testosterone in those rooms, as much as HR tries to quell that. But I mean, I see your point on the guy stuff too, but the difference is, like, if a guy's got a problem with me, or if I call a dude out, I'm like, hey man, don't talk to me like that, he gets one chance. If he does it again, then we're going to throw down. It's really simple. Like it's just one of those things that I think we need to get back to. I do think that there's a certain time and place for it, but you have to understand that guys are going to test you as well. Like guys need to see that you are a worthy, valued member of the tribe. And if you're going to fold because somebody says something mean to you, then that's not somebody that you're going to want to have your back when the stuff goes down. So there's certainly a fine line, but yeah, I mean, you got to stand up for yourself, but you also got to be a guy that doesn't take that stuff too seriously.
Yeah, we
Bottom
had a
line,
guy.
Andy, you want
Oh,
to
go
stay
ahead.
away from women that behave like men. You want a woman, right?
Yeah, totally. Not a transvestite, you know, in a woman's body or whatever.
Well, you don't want a
um,
boss girl.
yeah,
Like
no,
like
they're very
some
annoying.
guys like that. Some guys think that, oh, if I can build a relationship that resembles the Twin Towers and we go and conquer life together, sort of thing. You can't, like, there's only one steering wheel in a car for a reason. Okay, like that's just the way that life is.
I've seen some women use like witty banter as a way to hit on guys, but
Yeah.
and maybe it kind of keeps things interesting for a while. But if it doesn't wear off in due time, it becomes extremely annoying, like what Moff was talking about. And with guys, I just wanted to throw in an example from back in college. We had this dude in our friend group who would always. He was kind of like like that meme from Dumb and Dumber. Wow, you're one pathetic loser. No offense, man. So he would always say something really rude to just about everybody, and then say, "Just kidding." And eventually,
Mm.
he himself became like a meme. And after a while, it kind of maybe 90% of the time he was joking, but 10% of the time he was just using it to be rude and kind of toxic. And it was just kind of got kind of weird. So I thought of that when this topic came up. Could I talk a little bit about men around from her past?
Yeah,
Red
go ahead.
flag. Yeah. So um oftentimes I think we all think, men around from her past, some dude on Facebook or, some connection on Snapchat or whatever else. But like the ultimate version of keeping men around from her past is like dating a single mom. Because, it doesn't get any worse than that. I've done it. It's stupid, but you're basically not only dealing with some dude from her past, you have like his seed that you're taking care of,
Mhm.
right? And the dude also has extreme significant power over your life. You have to schedule around his schedule and this and that. And maybe if they're busing the kids back and forth, you get to see him 3 times a week. And it's like, bro, like it gets really, really, really annoying. I got
We'll
into
get
that kind of.
to single mom soon. That's the 12th red flag, but we'll deal with that in a couple of weeks.
Okay, yeah, you separate it in a separate, but I think they're kind of related because it's just like that is the ultimate. Um,
It's not ideal. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
As far as poor with money, could I just also like share an example?
Real quick. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the lady I ended up marrying, she I helped put her through college, paid and for some tuition and whatnot. We were married, so it was all cool. But then she would proceed to take out like student loan debt, like at interest, not just like grants or whatever, but
Mhm.
student loan debt against my kind of wishes. I didn't really have a say in it. I'd be like, yo, no, don't take that money. We can make do or whatever. But she would rather take the free money instead of getting like a part-time job or something like that I was asking her to do. And she had this like crazy affinity for shopping at Bed Bath and Beyond. And she
Shocking.
would always come back with some like new product or whatever, or these candles or something that are 10 and 15 and 20. I'm just like, we
Who ended up paying
had
for
a.
all that, Andy?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Like the closet was full of stuff that she wasn't even using. I calculated it, it was probably like a grand or more back in like, serious dollar money, 15 years ago or whenever it was. And I was like, what, why do we even have this? And so I actually tracked everything and I built a budget. And in this budget, we like paid for everything that had to be paid out of my money, mostly. And for each one of us, after all bills and kids and daycares and whatever's paid off, for each one of us, we had an equal allowance, right? And I think that was pretty fair. It's for incidentals, things like that, the
Mhm.
shampoos and whatever's. And that was outside of her. I'm sorry, I'm getting into too much detail, but it was outside of her feminine needs. So just the shampoos and whatever's. And then later on, after I made the mistake of announcing to her that I wanted a divorce, big mistake, don't do that. Talk to lawyers first. She like kind of proceeded to accuse me of like financial abuse because I freaking had a budget. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it was like so ridiculous. So anyway, the good thing about divorcing in the US, and I think mostly that all the judges stick the student debt, it's like personal debt. So at least in my case here in Minnesota, the judge didn't even look at that. It was not even a consideration that I was going to be liable for any of that debt. So that was, I guess, a good thing. But I mean, I still had to buy her out of the house and all that nonsense that only I paid for. So it was just like, oh God, years and years, if not days. You know, if you get involved with a
And
single mom or the
all of
wrong
these
one,
things that you're expressing grievance for, Andy, again, guys, I pointed this out at the start of the show. They can be avoided in the selection process when you're vetting, when she comes to you and says, where do we stand? Where is this going? That's when you look at the red flags. And when you have optionality and you have better optionality, you don't invite chaos into your life. So the exact stories that Andy's sharing with these 3 examples tonight, proofs in the pudding.
exactly, guys. You get along with the wrong woman and have kids with her, think 20 to life. 20
Yeah.
to life. It's a sentence, like where you're at. I love my kids, and that's great. So, from a utilitarian perspective, I guess it was awesome to have the relationship and everything. But otherwise, yeah, listen to what Rich says and Moff here.
Thanks,
It's
Andy.
yeah, it's tough.
We're going to grab the next caller. Thanks for chiming in.
Right on, man.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right, let's see what Anthony's got for us here. Anthony with the Maserati. Anthony, you're muted. You got to take yourself off mute, bud.
Hello, gentlemen. How you been doing?
Good. What do you got
What's up,
for
bro?
us?
I'm just loving the show, dude. Great advice. Moff, I'm telling you, man, I'm from New York. You went through what everybody goes through every time they're in a relationship down here. It's
What part of
always
New York are you from? I can hear it in your voice, man. It's awesome.
I'm
Great.
from
It reminds me of being home. You're from where?
I'm from Staten Island.
Oh, yeah, right on.
So you know it's like Staten Italy over here.
Yeah, totally.
Funny though, but you know what? Everybody over here looks like Muppets. They're all getting the same injections. They all look like their noses are touching their lips. Their butts are out like crazy. Their stomachs touching their back from Ozempic. It's crazy out here.
Yeah.
I just think that you guys are giving solid advice. Keep up the good work, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, Anthony. Thanks, man.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Cheers. All right. Well, that covers it.
What else
for
is there to
today's
say?
show. It's that's the next 3. Next week we're going to cover violent women, extreme jealousy, and party girls. There's lots to talk about in all 3 of those. I've certainly got some, my share of stories in them. But yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow night. Moff, you're doing a ladies' night at 7, is it?
7 Eastern.
We'll be on with Spence. We got another show on Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, check it out. You want to give any closing thoughts or any ideas before we wrap up?
Guys, know this list, love this list, memorize this list, tattoo this list on the back of your freaking hand if you have to. I mean, you guys, there's not a day that goes by that somebody will DM me. Like, I read Rich's book, but, then I brought this girl up because she's really, really hot. So I'll look past the red flag. It's like, I'm telling you guys, man, you guys call yourself unplugged. You guys call yourselves, take heed. I mean, we're not joking around. We have the life experience to back this stuff up. And, we don't like to talk about our personal stuff too much on the air because there's a lot of crazies on the internet, but you're looking at 2 guys that are actually walking the walk and not just talking the talk. I mean, so take it for what it is, but there's so much power in the selection process and avoiding these things. An ounce of prevention is worth a whole pound of cure. Just leave it at that.
Pounds of cure. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome night. We'll see you real soon. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.